Yo, what up people? How you guys doing? So, ever since the Balance Manifesto, we've been a lot of people have been in a big panic when it comes to the Chaos Slinger. In the up there is my run yesterday, where I was testing basically just using a 4-link Soulrend and a 3-link ED for clear. So basically, I dropped Contagion because of the reservations don't really allow you to do that unless you take Charisma, which we will come to in a second. So let's actually just open here. So the new Spellslinger at level 1, it is a 30% reservation. Currently it's 20%, and then at level 20 we know it's 25%. But for a lot of, I'd say most of the players who want to use Spellslinger, like for the Chaos top build, don't actually care about this number, because by the time your gems hit level 20, you're usually at least considering going self-cast already. So the important numbers that we have to think about it is when it's at 26% reservation, and that's where all the endgame calcs I'll do. And I think it's a safe assumption that it's either level 16 or 17 when the 26% reservation kicks in. So this is anywhere around like level 75 or something like that. Pretty early to the mapping, or if you're still farming Blood Aqueducts or something like that, is when you'll get access to this. So the important things for calcs are the 30% reservation and then the 26%. So let's start with the 30%. So previously we could run a 4-link Soulrend, 4-link ED, and a 2-link Contagion, just Spellslinger Contagion to spread the ED. But you don't actually need that. Soulrend does enough damage to carry all of the AoE clear on its own, and then the ED is there just to add some single target. And then now, especially because we don't need the Contagion anymore, you can just simply have Bane 3-linked very easily. You have like Bane, Despair, and then maybe Efficacy or something like that. And then it also takes away socket pressure, so you can have your Blight Totem linked earlier. So already after Library, which I do before Piety, I'll get access to Spell Totem from buying it from the Library quest. And then I have a Blight Spell Totem, and then something like Void Manip or Efficacy, depending like the colors. But yeah. So with the new system, if you use Spellslinger, or then the new reservations at 30%, with Spellslinger, Soulrend, LMP, which used to be GMP, you can't do it anymore, sadly, but LMP is pretty good already. And Void Manip, so this used to be Efficacy, and then you just swap the GMP to Void Manip for single target. This, you can't do it with the old values anymore. So the new one is LMP and Void Manip, which is, I guess this is actually in the wrong order. LMP is 1.4 multiplier and Void Manip is 1.2 multiplier, while Efficacy and Control Destruction are both 1.3 multipliers. So as you can see, already at this 4-link, with the lower multiplier gems, this is a 50.4 reservation, which is actually 51% after it rounds it up. And then if you were to even try to get a Contagion in, with just Contagion Spellslinger, that's 30%. So that's already 81%, which means that you can't add a third one. So this is basically just like that. We don't care about the Contagion. And now, if we do Spellslinger ED and Void Manipulation, again Void Manipulation because it's a lower multiplier, Efficacy would be 1.3, which would make this into 39%. So this is 36%. So you could actually do Spellslinger 4-link Soulrend for AoE, and then you have the ED for some single target help. And ED is honestly the biggest thing about the ED is getting the regen for bosses where you are taking damage. Like for example in this fight here. But yeah, so this would be 87%. At the level 30% reservation. So while you keep leveling, at probably around level 4 or 5, when it goes down to 29%, it makes it even easier for your mana pool. But this is totally fine, actually. So this is my test. This is how I leveled. And you could also consider, instead of using Void like a ED Spellslinger at all, is to just use Skitterbots. Skitterbots gives you shock, 15% shock, and then it's almost chill, which, while you miss the ED damage, you still have Bane, and you still have Blight, which get affected by the shock, and then obviously your AoE is gonna go up, because the Soulrend also benefits from the shock now. Another option is to, instead of using ED, is to have Bane, because even though you can't trigger a spell through the Spellslinger, sorry, you can trigger a Curse or Hex through the Bane if it's on Spellslinger. The Bane itself does some damage, it has some base damage, and then this would be the same amount of reservation from extra AoE, but I have personally tested both the run with the 4-link Spellslinger, and then a setup where I rushed to Charisma, like this, and then the next one of that, to be able to run 3-link Soulrend, 3-link ED, and a 2-link Contagion. And while it works, in this setup, especially early on, you can't use LMP on your Soulrend, which feels really bad. You just lose a lot of AoE. And the biggest issue with this setup is that you have to actually come down here. And you have to, by minimum, you have to put 4 points into Charisma early, which is... And like you might have noticed, my previous stream was like this. So you get more life, you get Atrophy, which is crazy amount of damage. So I prefer just not using the Contagion at all, because it allows you to get either more damage or more life, or something like a Acrobatics earlier, or stuff like that. And from here, it's easy to go into like Arcane Expanse. This is very powerful now for your Soulrend, because it keeps Soulrend AoE, so the Soulrend damage starts applying faster, and then the last tick before it stops dealing damage also takes longer. So I would probably recommend like doing the tree like this. So the first thing is to just go through all of this. You take no witnesses, then you take cross decay, you go straight up into Atrophy, and then Arcane Expanse. And then from there you can go here for life. There's some all resistant life. You can go down here, get this life. Obviously you take Blood Siphon, maybe Trickery. There's a lot of life. Then you go down here, you can go aggro, face aggro. There's a lot of resist here if you need resist after Act 5 Kitava. There's 1 point here from this side to take Revenge of the Hunt cluster. Then you can take 1 point into Made of the Madness. There's so many different ways. I'm not gonna go over the entire plan on my leveling tree. If you wanna do that, I can just link you this. I'll give you a timestamp to this video that's on the background right now. And for anyone interested, it took me 5 minutes longer with the new setup while having less damage compared to the old setup, because I didn't have a double 4-link. It took me 5 minutes longer to get the maps. And that's not honestly because of the build is worse now. It is worse, but it's still good enough for that to not matter at all. But because I didn't have second wind, I like to link my my smoke mine and my flame dash together with second wind, because it gives them both another charge. So it allows you them to use them much more often, and it gives them an extra charge. So it's just really nice. Yeah, so there's a Blight Totem. This is Blight Totem without using Spreading Rod. As you can see, the Spreading Rod is still in my inventory. And Spreading Rod is a lot of damage. So you want to make sure that you either... Like what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here and I'm going to take this 2-point jewel and put my Spreading Rod there. Somewhere around level 42, 45, something like that, is when I'm planning to get the Spreading Rod. And then your Blight gives you a crazy amount of damage and it withers as well. But yeah, TLDR. 4-link your Spellslinger for your Soulrend. Then either use a 3-link ED with Point Manipulation, or just run Skitterbots for chill and shock. And because the shock also applies to your Bane and Blight Totems, which is really nice. That's the leveling. You can go with that all the way to maps. and you probably don't even notice the difference, except instead of GMP you have a bit of less AoB through the LMP now. But you have easier time with your sockets. That's the reason why I'm probably gonna use the Skitterbots myself, is because it's 1 socket versus 3 for the ED. So it's even easier to get stuff done. For example, you could use the new Flame Wall that has some crazy degen. And while we do have mainly chaos damage scaling, we also do have spell damage here. Gonna have spell damage there. This is just generic dot. That's a generic dot. So the Flame Wall self-cast for some extra help could probably be very useful as well. And I'm probably gonna do that. But then let's go to the reservations with the 26%. And this is where this comes into play. So if you want to be able to run double 4-link for mapping, so 4-link ED, 4-link Soulrend, and then you just have a like Spellslinger Contagion, you need this cluster. With this cluster and 26% reservation, with nothing else, so this is just 4 extra points if you normally always have this anyways, that allows you to do links like this. So you have a Spellslinger, Soulrend, Void Manipulation, and LMP, which you then swap to Swift Affliction for single target purposes. Even though it lowers the duration, it's still better than the LMP if you just want purely single target damage. This is, we can do the math together here. So we have now a 26% base reservation. We multiply by 0.88. This is through because of the charisma cluster. Then we multiply by 1.4, which is LMP, and then 1.2, which is void manipulation. So that is 38.4, which then rounds up to 39%. Then we have Spellslinger ED Void Manip. And before I tell you the last link, I'm actually going to show you the first one. So let's try with efficacy. So we have 26%. Oh, that's 25, my bad. 26 times 0.88 times 1.2 for the void manipulation. And then let's go with 1.3 for efficacy or control destruction. Efficacy is the best support gem, but let's go with this. So this goes to 35.69, which then round up to... I just already forget it. Yeah, there. That rounds up to 36%. So this is already 75% reservation, right? And then we have 26.88 for the contagion, and that's 23% after the reservation, or the rounding up, that's 27%, right? Sorry, 23%. And these together, right? I'm bad at math, so I'm just gonna do it here. Goes to 98%. And if we have a 1000 mana pool, which you don't have, by the way, just saying, you're gonna have like anywhere between 600 to 900, depending if you go to Witch to get the mana, like the life mana nodes, and then just int and whatnot. So that's not gonna work. Because, again, like with 1000 mana pool, that would be 20 unreserved mana. That's not enough to cast your Flame Dance, that's not enough to cast your, well, okay, it's enough for Smoke Mine, but it's just not enough. So instead of using efficacy, we use Swift Affliction. And that is a 125 multiplier instead of 1.3. So that then changes the ED reservation. See that first. Wait, that's wrong. That was LMP, my bad. So this is 1.2. 1.25. Yeah. Clicking is hard. And then the charisma cluster. So that is now 35%, right? If I did the numbers correct. I think I did them. Yep. So that gives us 1 extra reservation, which again, if we add these together, assuming all my numbers are correct here, that 3% is actually enough. With 1,000 mana, that's just barely enough to cast your stuff. And because we on kill and all that, it's gonna be enough. However, what I will do and what I will recommend you to do is complete the Act 8 side quest in when you are going to Yugul or do the labyrinth trial in Act 8. Kill the guy in the bathhouse and get Conqueror's efficiency, because that gives you this jewel, and that is 2% mana reservation, and that allows you to remove the Swift Affliction and actually use the efficacy instead. And now you're good. Also, what you can also do, what I did, because I simply didn't have a 4-link, I just played like this. I had ED with Void Manipulation, and I did like the early Conquerors with it. You don't need the 4-link. If you feel like your mana isn't enough, even with the Swift Affliction early on, just take away 1 socket from your ED and it's still fine. Or swap them around, make your ED a 4-link. So put efficacy here, and then remove the Void Manipulation from your Soulrend, because now ED, because of the ED does a really good clear with the Contagion. Now you can remove that, and then you just swap the Void Manipulation back to the LMP when doing bosses. So that setup will carry you to red maps. The double 4-link will carry you to red maps, no problem. In fact, I've done the 14 Conquerors with the double 4-link. It's not pretty, but you can get there. If you really want to push yourself, you can get there. And then, now that we get the leveling out of the way, here's my starter plan for the league, for the race rather, I guess. My end game 3 is still absolutely a CI, because Ghost Routes and Escape Artist and the Trickster is just absolutely bonkers. But for the Awakener 8 race, I will be doing this instead. We actually, while we're mapping, I will take Weave the Arcane, because it has some nice damage mitigation, and it entirely solves any mana issue that I might have at any point. That's my overlap. So I will have this as my Merc Lab. You go Patient Reaper, Prong Pain, and then Ghost Dance. You could go Weave the Arcane immediately, but I want the movement speed and the Ghost Routes earlier. And then if by the time when I'm thinking about swapping to Self-Cast, which is around T10, T11, maybe T12s, if I don't have overlap, I can respec them points and then put it back to Weave the Arcane to remove my mana issues. But yeah, so this is after overlap, my 3, or my Ascendancy, and I will actually path to Overcharged to get my Frenzy Charge, because I don't want to rely on needing to get a Trigger. If I get Trigger, cool, I could be able to drop that and still be able to get Frenzy Charges, because I could use Cold Snap on my Trigger. However, this gives you Endurance charges for mapping as well, which is 12% fist mitigation, which is very powerful. So I probably just do this, but that remains to be seen if I feel like I don't need them. If I get the Trigger, the problem with getting Trigger is that not only you need to get it first, but it also takes away a craft that could be damage craft instead. So getting good weapons, especially in the race where you're in a rush, is gonna be pretty tough. So getting 2 prefixes and an open suffix might be very challenging. So instead, I'll just get 2 prefixes where one of the prefixes is a craft, and I'll take this. There's also life notes here we can take. And I will go face acrobatics. I will get Wind Dancer. It might be looking like, why would you take these? These kind of shit notes, but they have avoid ailment. So this cluster is 20% ailment avoidance. This is still really good. This is 20%. So that's 40% alone. So we only need 60%, which is perfect body armor craft, the unveiled craft, and then one craft in either helm or gloves. Or I can anoint elemental focus during the race early to get 10% avoidance, and then from the helm and the body armor craft, I only need 50%, which is going to be really easy to get. So that gets me to ailment immune. So that's very nice. And then finally, for the actual Awakener kill, or like endgame bossing, we'll do that. And we will also respec out of this entirely to get more life. That's it. We respec this to more life. But this is already 196. If you look at this right now, this is level 93 with 196. That's pretty good. But we remove all of this. We get more life there. We can take that. There's a life node to take there. And now this is 209 at level 90 already. There's probably some other... Oh yeah, we can take life from like a jewel, like 7% life jewel or something like that. And then I will probably take Arcane Will, because it gives me some ES, but most importantly, it gives me a higher mana pool. So if you can look at my mana pool, we go from 990 to 1130. So it gives us a lot of unreserved mana. We go from 58 to 80 right now. So that helps me, allow me to cast my stuff. Also, it just gives me mana regen. So that's hopefully gonna solve my mana issues that I will have after I swap out of Weave the Arcane. And yeah, before this, the tree is gonna be like, when we are a slinger, the tree would be like these points plus these points, and then we go from, well, you don't really need this even a slinger, but early on, when we are purely Soulrend, you wanna take those nodes, then you take these out, you can put them into here if you don't feel like you need this anymore, but this is decent AoE and it's good damage. And then when you don't want these anymore, when you go self-cast, boom, you do that. Obviously, we have too many life nodes right now that we wouldn't have normally at this point. I have some somewhere else as well. I shouldn't be having right now. I don't remember where it is, but there's something somewhere. Oh yeah, we don't need that because we were with the Arcane and now it's back to like 94. Which 94 is probably the level that we'll get to kill Awakener. And there's some other just life, you know, random life nodes that you don't necessarily need. Yeah. In terms of items, this is just literally a random chaos damage or multiplier with a crafted spell damage. Every single item is just basically life. There's a temple chest, which should be relatively easy to get. You get to do at least like 3-4 temples, so I'd say it's a very high chance that you get a temple chest. You can farm Atsiri a tiny bit, hope to get them. If you don't get the Atsiri step, you could also get Redeemer boots or Elder boots that can also get spell dodge. Or you can get lucky with temple to get spell dodge boots. And then just, I have one, I'm hoping to get one Vermilion ring. And then I would quality it, and then others just random shit life, right? And this is my Blight right now with a 5-link with only 12 Wither stacks, which is super easy to maintain. My Withering Step alone gives me 6 every time I use it. And then the Blight with 5.5 cast a second is gonna give me very easily to develop. So this is already 700k Cirrus DPS from the Blight alone with level 20. I believe this is 20 gems. Yep. Well, except the Blight, which is just 20. So you should be able to flip the gems and hit level 20 on them. Or manually quality some. Then we have a gloves. We have a gloves, which is simply our essence drain. And this is a +1 gloves. You might not be able to get the +1, or I might not be able to get the +1 early, but I hope I'll get it. So that gives a +1 level. So that's like 160. And then I have a... I will normally have a Contagion with Arcane Surge, because Weave the Arcane makes it so that my Flame Dash can't give me Arcane Surge because my mobility skills are free. But I will swap the Contagion to a Bane for bossing, and then from that I can also put the Arcane Surge back to my Flame Dance because I don't have it on. I don't have this anymore for bossing setup, right? And this also gives me chance to dodge spells, which is nice, and like a decent stun immunity. But we also have a decent stun immunity from just having Arcane Swiftness, the Chest Craft, and this cluster. These two nodes is 28%. With that, it's 48. By having any ES, if this fails, then we get another 50% chance, but we also get the 35, up to 35 from the chest. So we have a decent stun avoidance regardless. Now I don't remember what I was talking about. Yeah, so the Bane is... The Bane is like another 90k. So this is almost a 1 mil DPS build with one item that gives much damage, and everything else is just literal trash with life. And it's actually probably a bit higher at times, because I can get to 15 wither stacks. Oh yeah, I guess one thing. When we self-cast, we have the attack and cast speed, but while we are slinging, we will have these nodes. You need these damage nodes early, but once you go self-cast, you swap them to the attack and cast speed nodes. 12% cast speed is really powerful for just the quality of life of casting your Contagion and ED faster when you're trying to go fast, and Blight for stacking. Yeah. So I'll give you the POB for this mapping setup, not for the Awakener setup. Awakener setup is simply take away Overcharged, swap Weave the Arcane to Escape Artist. With the points that you took away from here, you put it into Arcane Will, and then any missing life. That's it. That's the plan. And eventually, endgame, I will make a CI build, but I'm not going to talk about that right now because time is at essence. I should be practicing right now. But I just wanted to make an update quick on what's the Slinger leveling like and my early game plan. This build can actually get like 7k life if you get the really good life rolls, if you get double Vermilion rings and stuff like that. And as you can see, we are at 48% spell dodge right now. That's without considering a flask. We will have a quartz flask, which gives us 10%. We don't have escape artists right now, which will have that eventually, right? So as long as I have some energy shield, I'll have escape artist, and we'll get to like 1k energy shield. And every time I get hit, every time I lose lose life, Ghost Route pops in and gives me some back. In fact, it will always fill my energy shield if I have a Jade and Steep Knight Flask up. But yeah, there's something else. Oh, and for the Awakener fight itself, what you can also do is, or what I will do is, I will actually... Where are you, elusive? There. Because I'm using Withering Step to apply Wither stacks, but Withering Step at level 19 with 20 quality has 46% elusive effect. This cluster has 45% elusive effect. Elusive at base value is 15% spell dodge. So when we click Withering Step, we multiply that by 191, and we start with 28 spell dodge, and then it goes down from there. So now, even without considering Escape Artist, even without considering potentially using Soul of Lunaris for 5% extra spell dodge if you're being hit, or Enchant on Boots, which gives you, I believe, up to 8%. If you're being hit by... we can actually check this. There is a very, very powerful... Where are you, Boots? There is... 8% chance to dodge spell hits if you've taken spell damage recently. So, even without the Withering Step, this build can basically get spell dodge cap. but my budget way of doing that is simply to click my withering step, and it caps me my spell dodge for the Awakener die beam, at least for the first few, which is very nice. Just have to be very careful, do not have like left click Immortal Call. I will do cast when damage taken, so that it doesn't cancel it out when I'm moving, because I want to be moving while having the elusive up as well. And as you can see on my chat here, there's people looking for this video. So yeah, I think that should pretty much cover everything for my plan for the Awakener race, and how to level the Spellslinger. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed, and yeah, see you guys soon.